Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really special knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Genex blade Primarch 5. What on earth are we looking at here? So who is Genex blade? So Genex blade was created by an individual, J Bin. I believe this is the information I have on him. He is a Chinese custom knife maker. I will try and link his Instagram down in the description, but that's the information I have on him. He worked with Good Screw, the Get Good Screw company, who was the distributor for this knife, and also Riot, who is the OEM for this knife. But the way that this is put together is not typical at all. The best way that I can describe it is the same way they describe it on their website, which is a Midtech. Now, there's a lot of terms, a lot of words I use in there that don't normally go together, right? Oftentimes when we hear Riot, we think ultra high-end production, but not Midtech. This is very, very different. Now, this is a functional and very durable tool, but it is 100% meant as a collector's item. Now, this is the Primarch 5. They actually did a Primarch 1 through Primarch 6, I believe, and each one is a little bit different in design, and they actually go up in price, with Primarch 4, 5, and 6 being the most expensive and having some of the most, flashy elements there. But this was not a cheap knife. Actually, even considering the price tag though, this is unbelievably impressive. And this is a little complicated to do a video on because there's a lot of information, a lot to cover. It's very different than a lot of the knives that I have covered. So I'm going to do my best to talk about this and give you all of the details. Now, these were numbered and I believe at this moment are sold out. Obviously, the secondary market exists, and I know that people are still going to be interested in the details of this, so I'm going to do my best to give you those. But I also want to cover this so that you guys are familiar, or basically made aware of Genex blade, and especially potential future projects that they have with Riot or Get Good Screw in the future, because I really hope they do something like this again. This is so amazing, and this is the type of stuff that gets me going as a knife enthusiast, as a collector, right? If you're into this stuff, the wild and crazy, if you like the beyond the standard utility sort of section of the knife world, this is it. This has the sauce. I cannot wait to talk about this knife with you guys. Thank you so much to Genex Blade and Get Good Screw for sending this into me so that I can share it with you guys. I'm going to link as much as I possibly can, like I said, down in the description. It's worth checking out Get Good Screw as well. They make awesome drivers and some other stuff. So definitely please check them out. And thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and measure this wonderful, beautiful, just unbelievably intricate knife. Oh my gosh. I'm sure you guys are looking at this and thinking, I have so many questions. I will do my best to answer them. Overall length of this knife, I believe it's about 8 inches on the dot. Yeah, actually a little more. We're gonna go 8 1/4 there, all the way to that butt tip, which you guys probably can't quite see. And then we have a blade length of 3.5 inches and a cutting edge length of 3.5 inches. Very, very cool. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Other. So up against the 8010 and the 8020.5. This is not quite as big as the 8010, but not only is it loud in design and loud in presence, but it feels like a big knife. Not an overly monstrous knife, but if you handle this thing, your instinctual reaction is, wow. Whether you say it in your head or you say it out loud, it is a lot. So even though it's a little bit shorter, believe me, it does not feel any less, any less massive, I guess, than the 8010, both figuratively and literally. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here it's almost exactly the same as the Spyderco PM2 with more cutting. Well, we'll talk about the cutting edge here in a second. It's a little weird. And then up against the Spyderco Para 3. There you go. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. and the Hogue Deca. All right, so how is the action on this knife? I have become a supreme action snob, as anyone would in my position. I remind you guys so often that you're probably annoyed hearing it, but I have 4,300 uploads consisting of almost nothing but knives. So I think it's fair to say that I have a pretty good, sense of what quality action feels like. It takes quite a bit for me to, not a lot for me to say, yeah, the action's good. It takes quite a bit for me to go, this is different. So hear me now. This action is different. This is above. This is something that I very rarely, if ever, experience. It is smooth and falls shut, right? But that's only part of it. There are plenty of knives, including, budget knives that can be fall shut. This is essentially feelingless fall shut. If I closed my eyes, I would not know exactly what position the blade was in because I cannot feel it as it moves, as the pivot allows the blade to move into the frame. This is ridiculous. Also, the detent is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. These gigantic zirconium thumb studs are super satisfying. There's also no double clutch because of this little tab that comes down and catches your finger there. Very beautiful. And access to the lock bar is also superb. This was clearly created. If you look up J-Bin, that's literally how he's listed on Arizona Custom Knives. You look at his past work, you can see this isn't like a, it's like, somebody in it. No, this is a serious custom knife maker. I think his work dates back to 2014, just judging off what his Instagram says, but not only are his knives striking to look at, this is somebody who's like, yeah, I can make a knife. Now I want to make something really special, right? And that seems to be what he does. It seems to be that he makes very, very special, very intricate custom pieces. And this is a production imagination. Riot is absolutely one of the only companies that would be able to pull this off, considering what they did here. So I have the website pulled up on an iPad because it was too much to remember. I wanted to pull this up. You can read this for yourself on their website, but it says the pivot is a fine-threaded pivot screw with end-stop limiter, embedded zircotie, heat-treated stainless. You can see here, actually, the embedded zircotie is what they're talking about here. Heat-treated stainless steel reinforced contact area on the handle, right? I'm sure you guys understand that. Bearings and washers, custom 10-roller bearing system, fully sealed cage with external O-ring. Replaceable copper washers with oil reservoir. Small screws are specially made. Concave triangle shape, right? Proprietary, but it does come with the tool. And then handle structure, it says semi-integral design, which, depending on how you define that, I mean, it's not an integral. It all comes apart. But it has one large and one small backspacer embedded into the handle, internally milled to reduce weight. And then back one more page over, backspacer, one large, one small, pocket clip, spring-loaded, recessed at the clip to improve hand grip. You can see right here, that's what they are talking about there. Just really incredible. I mean, I wanted to read you all the details, but mainly that the details of the pivot. This is not a typical pivot is what I'm getting at here. It does come out. The tool is a little interesting. If you guys want to see a full, this is why I decided not to disassemble it. Lefty EDC did a full disassembly, and you can absolutely get in there. He gets in there without too much trouble, but everything's loose, right? On something like this, it's definitely put together in a way that you probably just want to leave it alone. Now, I know I have lots of viewers who are like, I can't do that. As soon as I get a knife, I got to take it apart and I got to see what it looks like. If you get your hands on one of these, number one, if you buy one of these from the secondary market, make sure they have that tool. Make sure they have it. If they don't have the tool, don't buy it, right? You're going to need that tool, right? But you can get in there. It's going to take a little bit of effort, but the bearings, the custom bearing cage that houses those 10 custom rollers, those do come out, right? So I think obviously a place to put your hardware and the tool that it comes with, very important, but also some sort of magnet. That's what left the EDC had, and I think that that's a really, really good idea. If you're going to do this, obviously be very, very careful, but you're going to need a magnet to hold everything. Now, this is going to, turn a lot of people away. This is definitely a knife that you can carry and use and you'll be fine, right? But I think this definitely leans more into, collector territory. plenty durable, plenty functional, but collector territory and definitely a little bit above the standard comfort zone of most people if you want to take it apart. But basically, the short of that is what is allowing this unbelievable action. It's absolutely insane. I do urge you to go check out Lefty EDC's video if you really want some intricates and some details about the internals. You want to see everything, but it's really cool. The action is superb. It is, I mean, I could throw a whole bunch of words at it, but if you've handled 1,000 knives, this will be one that you remember. It does not feel like anything else that I have ever experienced, and it puts to shame many of the knives that I have hailed in the past as having superior action. It is really incredible. And it lends to that definition of Midtech, which is that's a term that's thrown around a lot. And sometimes it gets applied to knives and it helps kind of boost the interest and this and that. But it's a knife made with production elements that's got a little bit more in it, right? Not just custom fittings and custom parts, but also hand something, right? There's a human element in its construction. In this case, these are all, to my knowledge, hand assembled and hand fitted, which makes perfect sense. I do not believe that a machine could slap all this together and make it feel like this. So, by my own definition of Midtech, absolutely. I've just never handled a Midtech in exactly this category with these details, right? Production I've made by Riot, but then built like this with all these wild and super custom, pivot parts. Now, I didn't, it just never occurred to me that something like this could exist. I'm used to that term being almost completely exclusive to a lot of American stuff, right? But no, yeah, this is, it definitely feels like that would have to be, I mean, the only thing that could be more custom than this is custom, like a full-on custom, right? So, yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, anyways, the action is really good, guys. The action is really incredible, and I know that anybody who handles this is going to echo the same thing. So, just know that that's definitely the case, but anyways, let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It is definitely on the thicker side. Not absolutely massive, but definitely on the thicker side. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. This is a big, chunky knife, right? So it's not quite as long as the PM2. It's definitely longer than the Para 3. It's very tall, right? But you're going to notice it in the pocket. It is definitely on the heavy side. So, normally this is where we would do the hardware check, and this has the cool, at this level, like I always say, man, I really wish this was just Torx. And most of the time that's true, right? But with this being intentionally special, intentionally intricately built, I kind of do like the special hardware, right? I mean, there's everything here is aiding to this is special nature of this thing. So it doesn't make it convenient to get into. If you want to carry and use this thing, you're going to have to, number one, spend a whole bunch of money. Number two, get around the fact that you're carrying something that is limited and very special. And number three, you're going to have to keep track of that tool. And you're also going to have to make sure that you don't lose the hardware, because you're essentially screwed if you do. I don't know how the warranty works on this thing, but with them being limited, I wouldn't lean on that, right? So yeah, you can view that, from a utilitarian standpoint as a huge drawback. And if you are, like me and you're a collector and really interested in all of those intricate little elements that are added to the knife, via the original designer, then you might appreciate that, because man, the beauty of this thing is off the chart. Saying that it is precision and perfect is like, it's like saying the sky is blue. Like there's no detail. There's no theater in that statement. This is wacky. This is wackadoo, man. It's wild. I don't always get to handle stuff like this, so that's really spectacular. And Goods Crew undersold it to me. They're like, "Hey, we want to send this to you. We think it's really special. We think you'll really like it." Oh God, yeah, pretty cool. But definitely, the downside is all the hardware stuff for sure for some people, right? Weight. So they're all going to weigh a little bit different, because each one, they don't all have different blade shapes, but there's a couple of different blade styles. This one's pretty spectacular, right? And then some of them have holes, some of them don't. Some of them, like this one, have inlays, and some of them just have a whole, like it's like a whole piece, right? This is zircotie. This is definitely a piece of Riyadh zircotie that's underneath there. Same with the pivot, right? Some of them don't have this. Some of them are carbon fiber. One of them is just like one big piece of zircotie. There's even a Primarch X where the whole freaking frame is zircotie, and the blade is, I believe, Damasteel. Obviously, that one costs a lot more, right? But you're going to get some variation of this weight. This is probably one of the heaviest. I would imagine the Primarch X is the heaviest, given that there's a lot more zirconium in it. This is one of the heaviest of the standard versions at 6.8 ounces. Probably the lightest weight version would be the one with the carbon fiber inlays or the holes in the titanium. So maybe as low as 6 ounces. Either way, it's heavy. The balance, though, is right behind the pivot, so it actually feels great. This is the type of weight that really lends to the, I keep saying lends, it really aids in that feeling of quality, right? Not just in heft, but in just that solid, like complete feeling that it was created with care and emotion, right? It's got all that. I like it. It feels good. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness because it is not thin. It's not like monstrous. It's just, it's big. Blade stock thickness probably 177 thousandths is what I'm getting there. So definitely on the thicker side. What are the materials? What are all the materials? Titanium, zirconium, Damascus, or zircotie. More titanium, and Vanax. Vanax for the blade. You guys know Vanax is one of my most favorite steels of all time, very similar to MagnaCut in terms of overall performance, with a little bit of difference here or there. Vanax is slightly less tough with slightly more corrosion resistance, but very, very similar in all other areas. Typically, we see Vanax hardened between 60 and 62, and I believe that's what they have it at here. So yeah, you're definitely looking at incredibly premium materials all the way around. I mean, no part of this knife is inexpensive in terms of the materials alone. Then we start adding in the fact that these are hand-tuned, hand-assembled, and they have custom wild pivot parts and things like that. Obviously, substantially more is going into this knife than something from, something that costs $200 from Artisan Cutlery. So we are not comparing in that territory. This is definitely in its own territory. We did everything. Let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes here, guys. Wow, what a stunning looking knife. Is it actually comfortable? You know what? Believe it or not, it actually is. This thing looks so aggressive. It looks like it would be pointy in so many different areas, but all of these little spots where it does have what looks like an aggressive point, you can see there's all these extra bevels and things, all these efforts to make it more comfortable, and it does a really, really good job. On top of that, that pocket clip looks super aggressive. Look how detailed the pocket clip alone is. Wow. You know what? The pocket clip works because it's got this sort of hawk, like teeter-totter thing, right? It's not the first time I've seen this on knives outside of Hawk. I have no idea if Hawk patented that or not. I doubt it. I bet it's perfectly okay for companies to do this. We just don't see it very often, right? But you pull down, it lifts up, and you can obviously get this in and out of the pocket super easy if you want to. Easier than all other milled clips because the bill can be lifted up, but then it slants down, which means there's nothing poking into your hand. This works beautifully. I hardly notice that the clip is there. These are a little pokey, but you're not really going to have your finger up here. You might have your finger up here, and you might be saying, oh my gosh, are you touching the cutting edge? No, actually, because the initial part of this cutting edge, some people are going to think this is neat. A lot of people are going to hate it. The initial part of this cutting edge is intentionally dull. Now, you could imagine how thick this would be back here if they went ahead and sharpened it, right? There's probably a way to have done this better, but this was obviously intentionally done by the designer. So the sharpened edge doesn't start until here, which is weird, right? I mean, if you're cutting with this, it will definitely start to run into this zone where it whitens out and becomes not sharp. So you can get hung up there. However, it looks to be that they intentionally did that to make sure that the thumb stud could be the size that it is and in the spot that it is without being directly above the sharpened cutting path. So is that the perfect way to do it? No, but the type of knife that this is on, right? I mean, if you really want to use this as a tool, it's going to have its hangups for way more reasons than just this area right here, right? But plenty of people are going to have their, there are issues with that, and I think that's perfectly valid. But I suppose the most positive thing that I can say is that the the sharpened area will clear the thumb stud, or the thumb stud will clear, when you're cutting straight down, right? It'll clear that that thumb stud. So there you go. Do I like that? Personally, no. I wish that the sharpened edge was all the way back here. I am heavily distracted by the fact that the edge is mirror polished, though. Holy crap. Truthfully, there are too many amazing details about this knife, and the collector in me, knowing that how to look at this and what details of this to look at, right? I don't want to ignore the utilitarian elements. It's just that what this was created to be was far more than just utility. Utility, sure, but much more than that. So I'm getting distracted by elements that are way beyond utility. This is weird. That's about where I'll leave it, right? Totally valid to think that that should be sharpened all the way back, but it isn't. So there you go. We have just unbelievable detail in the pivot here. Really, really cool, allowing you to have access to it with the custom tool while still making it look absolutely gorgeous. And honestly, it looks like something that is just locked in place and unable to be altered. It can be, but everything, they did a great job of making it, designing it. It's, on a normal knife, you just have like a head with it's just like a screw. This looks like anything but that. It looks like this sort of bank vault, like I need a spell to get through the gate. Like that's what it actually looks like, right? Speak friend and enter. Like that's what it makes me think of. It's just like there's no area of this knife where there wasn't some custom element or some designy element applied to it, and the pivot is no exception. It's really beautiful. Same with these areas right here. Not everybody's going to love this, but I think we can all agree that there's a lot of detail here. Each one of these holes on this one, this is the Primarch 5, so it's got these little squarey, rectangle-y cutouts here. And then you can see the zircotai peeking through from underneath, which is really cool. The subtle silvery bronze in contrast with the satin of the pivot collar and the zircotai accents is just absolutely gorgeous. These are not necessarily always colors that work together, but on this knife, I think it does. The gigantic thumb studs are made of solid zirconium, and I think they look awesome. You can see the Genex logo right there, which is actually, has it been like, yeah, it's actually been like milled into it. Like it's an actual texture, not like just laser. But you can see that there, and then nothing else because the word Vanax is right here. Really beautiful. Like I said, the edge has been mirror polished, which is absolutely gorgeous. We have a recurve compound Tanto harpoon. Absolutely nasty blade. Just a disgusting, wicked blade shed. It's so cool, man. We have what looks like a belt satin on the initial hollow part of the grind, and out here for the secondary edge, which is flat, much thicker, and up here on the harpoon swedge. And then we have a nice tumbled finish on the flats. Really, really nice. I don't feel like the designer logo takes away from this. This is such a beautiful looking knife. Very, very designy, very intentionally designy, and very, very well thought out. The backspacer is absolutely ridiculous. Apparently these are all individual pieces, but this one is sort of floating or nested on top of these areas where the frame comes together, which is really cool. I've literally never seen anything like this. Nothing exactly like this. The backspacer is nested into the connections of the frame. That's wild. And then we have, I guess you could call this a standard backspacer. Nothing about this is look at all the little bevels on the edges. It's absolutely wild, man. The amount of machine, even Riot was like, really? That's really what you want us to do? I'm sure when they saw the CAD and for whatever the information, I'm sure they were like, oh God, okay, we'll try. This is wild, man. It's so awesome to look at. I love knives where you can look around. I could stare at this for hours and probably still find areas that are beautiful and interesting. Look how they nested this. The backspacer wraps around here. And by the way, of course, it's going to be absolutely dead on center. But listen how this wraps around and connects with these milled parts of the frame that are milled to accept this area of the backspacer. It's beautiful. This is an integrated lanyard hole that's super designing, goes right along with the backspacer, but you wouldn't even notice it was there until you look at it and go, oh yeah, that's meant for a lanyard, right? So beautiful. Every last area. I honestly don't, this is one of those knives where I'm like, it doesn't need a texture pattern. I don't want a texture pattern. The texture pattern would ruin it. Everything about this knife is amazing the way that it is. The step right here that goes down into this, I guess, this lower level of the frame. Eventually these bevels down here, they're all different. All totally different width, right? Have different curvatures. So cool. Even with all those lines and things, all those different wild curvatures, everything flows together super nicely. The pocket clip just goes right in with the general theme. I love the custom relief cut with this little milling pattern in there. Is so beautiful. Even back there, it's not cut out a traditional way. The lock bar is interesting. Look at the lock bar. The steel lock bar insert even has that line that connects here, and it goes all the way through to the frame. So beautiful. This has like a locking tab and a screw. Right, so you have that steel on steel context, so beautiful. Raised above the show side scale so that you have good access. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So smooth. Oh, just a thing to behold. It's been a while since I've found something that I, want to talk about in terms of like secondary market desire. Right, there's not a lot out there that I feel like is worthy of the attention of collectors to actually seek this kind of stuff out. And I know people don't like it when I talk about this. I save this type of, discussion for later on in my videos where I know the vast majority of the audience has dropped off. And the reason people get upset with me is because they're like, if you do this, then people who are selling these things are going to jack the prices way up. Maybe. If you can get your hands on one of these for a good deal, if they're secondary only. I mean, if you find a way to get one of these brand new, I don't know how you do it, right? Because I think they're all gone. But this is one of those things that as a collector, I would want in my collection because it does have interesting elements. It does have the extra, the wild and the crazy, the stuff that we don't usually see, right? Anyways, to finish this off, you have a stop pin. The only normal part about this knife is where the stop pin is located, which is in just a normal place, right? That's fine. A little bit of shouldering there. Bet you could guess the lockup is completely and totally solid. No movement up, down, left, to right. No pivot lash, anything like that. Absolute perfection in all areas. So, so, so beautiful. No detent lash, anything like that. Really spectacular. That lockup is just nasty. So what does this cost? Well, the base price, which is a much less designy version, it's basically everything except for the Zerka tie inlays and the holes and everything. I think it's $489. This one, the Primarch 4, 5, and 6 are all $589. That is very expensive. But if someone said, hey, I've got a non-USA $590 knife, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Tell me what you'd expect, right? This has everything you'd expect. Even the most nose in the air, I'm not buying it unless it has exactly that. There's plenty of people who are like, I'd never spend that much money on a knife. That's fine. This definitely wasn't marketed for you. You don't have to want this. You don't have to. They're gone anyway, right? But for people this is what it would have to include to get me to spend that much on something that's not made in the USA. This has everything that you could dream up and then some. I mean, it is way beyond. So do I think this was priced fairly? Yeah, and it obviously was because they're gone. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed at the price tag for the crazy, wild, full Zerkatai one, right? Even that one was pretty much right on the money. I can't remember what it was. Was it? Well, it'll be on the website. But versus a lot of other stuff that's out there, this is just substantially more unique than we normally see. And it's really impressive. So I understand that talking about something like this doesn't do anybody any benefit in terms of actually purchasing it. But it's like I always say, I'm not the Home Shopping Network. I'm also not racing to be the first of anything, right? I'm not trying to be the earliest or the first. I want to give my thoughts on cutlery, available or not, rare or common, cheap or expensive, right? So your ability to acquire it is a journey that you'll have to go on your own, right? Sometimes I try to get this kind of stuff out before, these things sell out. And that's why I did the unboxing first. I did the unboxing while these were still available. So anybody who really wanted one could have gotten them, during that unboxing. That's fine. But I wanted to give all my thoughts so that you guys kind of knew, what's going on with this knife. And if you choose to seek it out on the secondary market, you can. But most importantly, you should be made aware of the knife maker and designer behind this and the project itself. Hopefully, they do something like this again in the future because this is really spectacular. This is hands down going in my favorite knives playlist. Obviously, it's not made for everybody, so I reserve my most recommended playlist, which is different, subtly, than my favorite knives playlist. It's not a knife that I would recommend to everybody because it's not made for everybody. It's very clearly not supposed to be for everybody. For collectors and enthusiasts, absolutely, 100%. This is spectacular, wild, really cool. For that reason, it's going in my favorite knives playlist, but not in my most recommended because, I'm not gonna do that. As a tool, you're gonna have some weird hangups here or there because of the blade shape, because of the sharpened edge, because of the geometry, right? But as a collector's item, a quality, usable, if you so choose, collector's item, yeah, definitely. If you're like me, you'll love this knife. Very, very cool. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Thank you so much again to Genex Blade and Goods Crew for sending this in. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.